Today I'm going to share with you how we built our Barndominium for less than $100,000. Yes, I said that correctly. How is that possible, you may ask? Well, I'm gonna break it down for you a little bit. So in a previous episode, I talked about how we moved to this property. It had been abandoned for 9 years and had this big old hay barn sitting here that I had envisioned into making it our home. So I sketched the floor plan out myself, so I saved money by not having to hire that part out. With our building codes in our area, it was good enough because it was actually considered a remodel or a renovation. So we got the permit and we did all of the work. I would say 90% of the work we did ourselves. In the previous video, I also mentioned how we had subcontracted out the HVAC and the plumbing, but everything else we did ourselves. Some of the ways that we were able to save money was not only by doing the work ourselves, that's a huge thing, the labor, but a lot of the finishes. So I knew I wanted shiplap for the wall finish, but shiplap is very expensive and we have really tall walls and a lot of them. So I had to get really creative to obtain the look without taking a big hit on the budget. So I was in Lowe's one day and I saw this exterior siding that came in a 4x8 sheet, and it had like vertical lines and this beautiful finish on it that looked like barn wood. And so I had this great idea that we would take that and we would rip it down on the table saw and make shiplap boards. And so it worked perfectly. It took a lot of boards, and Hank was not very happy about that. But in the long run, it turned out wonderful. It saved us tons of money. And honestly, when people walk in, they always ask, is that original to the barn? Because it looks like old barn wood, but I painted it white. So I also used that same siding in the ceiling. I wanted a really big wow factor. When you walk in and you walk into the room, I wanted to have a really grand appearance. So I decided to leave the trusses exposed, and that also saved money because we didn't have to go buy beams, especially as many as it would take for this big of a space. So I decided to stain the trusses and stain the wood in the ceiling. It took me a little over 3 months to do all that. I stained it by hand, but it really turned out great, and that's just a huge focal point in the house. In the dining area, I wanted to open it up to give it like a larger appearance, so we removed a wall and put a faux beam across the opening using actual old barn wood that we just wrapped 2x12s, and so it makes it look like a huge barn beam. And I used the same siding for the ceiling in there, but I left the trusses exposed, but I painted those white along with the ceiling. The same thing for our master bedroom. Now those two rooms had regular height ceiling. They didn't have the really tall ceiling, so by exposing the trusses, that really opened it up and gave it an appearance of being taller. And it was really at no cost because the trusses were already there, so it saved us huge on that. I've always wanted a fireplace in the master bedroom, and so I was able to find a gently used 3-way gas fireplace at a local Habitat Restore. And it's perfect. I have it positioned right in front of the bathtub on one side and then facing into the master bedroom on the other. So that was a huge savings there, and you'd never know it was not brand new. The clawfoot tub that sits in our master, I was able to buy that online, and it is acrylic and not porcelain, so it's lighter and it's less expensive. And it's actually the second acrylic clawfoot tub that I've owned, and I've never had any issues with it. It's beautiful, and you would never know that it was not a really heavy porcelain tub. So another area that we were able to save money in was by doing our own tile work. Now I had a little bit of experience doing tile because I had done backsplash in our previous home and a small bathroom, so I kind of felt a little confident. However, our shower is like a 6x8, and I was gonna have to build the entire floor and everything, and I was a little bit concerned about that, but you know, we YouTubed it, figured out how to waterproof it properly, build the floor properly, and it passed inspection, so I guess I did it right. We were able to tile that shower, and we actually have 3 bathrooms in the house. I tiled all of them including our backsplash. And you know, it took some time, but it was very much worth it. I purchased most of the tile for our showers from a big box store when they had it like a pallet special, so I saved a lot of money in that area. One area that I did splurge in though was our guest bath shower. It's a really cool, it's called a Dreamline shower. It's really cool, like gridded. But our guest bath is like 5 by 6, so it's a really, really tiny bathroom. But I knew we had to make a full bath work in there. So I found that online as well, and I waited until Labor Day or Memorial Day, one of those holidays, to purchase it when it came on sale, and I saved huge. We did install it ourselves, but I will admit the first time we installed it upside down, but we quickly figured it out and we were able to correct it. And it's a really cool shower and our guests love using it. So you can save a ton of money by purchasing the items that you need on the major holidays. I made a list. I knew everything that I needed, even though we may not have been at that stage at that particular time in our building process. I was gonna need it, right? So I had the list, and when those major holidays would hit, I would go ahead and purchase that, and it would save me tons of money. I was able to get all of our appliances except for the refrigerator at Lowe's during the Labor Day sale, and I think I saved like $1,500 by doing that. The refrigerator, on the other hand, I saved huge on that. I found it at a local Goodwill store. It is a GE monogram, sub-zero type counter depth, however you want to call it, refrigerator in perfect condition. It was a $7,800 refrigerator that I was able to purchase for $900. I was so proud of that purchase because it was something that I could not have purchased and stayed on budget, but yet I was able to get it at a great price. I bought that way ahead of schedule. Like I said, it may not be an opportune moment as far as the place that you are in your building process, but if you find a great deal like that, you have to go ahead and get it. The only thing is, make sure that you have somewhere safe to store it until you're ready to use it. I brought the refrigerator home. We were still in the framing process. It was sitting in what would be our kitchen, and Hank was in the back and he was framing up in the master bedroom or bathroom. And I was like sweeping because I always was obsessive about the floor being dirty while we were building. And I kept hearing this tink, tink sound. I'm like, what is that sound? And then I discovered every time he would shoot the nail gun and miss a stud or something, that nail was going across and hitting my new refrigerator. So I actually have 3 little dings in the door. Hank says it gives it character, but I was like, stop. But anyway, I'm still proud of that. Another great bargain that I found was our living room chandelier. Now that room is really tall. I think the ceilings are like 21 feet. So I knew it was gonna take a really large fixture for that room. I wanted something simple, not very elaborate, but still to fill that space was pretty pricey. One day I walked into our Habitat Restore and I saw this gorgeous black wrought iron chandelier, the perfect size, 20 bucks. Yes, I could barely fit it into our Explorer, but I got it home, and once I got it back to the house, I looked up the name brand and the model that was on there. It's a $1,300 chandelier that I scored for 20 bucks. So don't be afraid to shop your thrift stores, your Goodwill, Habitat Restores, like I mentioned, because you never know what you're gonna find. You know how they say one man's trash is another man's treasure? Well, those items aren't really trash because they're really good shape, but it certainly was a treasure for me to find. Another great resource to find items is Facebook Marketplace. I was looking on there one day, just browsing through, and I saw an ad for an original farmhouse sink, and I was ecstatic. So we were able to get both of the kitchen and the laundry room sinks. They have like the sideboards. They're like heavy original cast iron from 1920s, and they are gorgeous. I love them. It's definitely a statement piece in the kitchen as well as the laundry room. So I would suggest look on Facebook Marketplace. You never know what you can find on there. So in the plans I had drawn for the living room, it was to include a 2-story stone fireplace. But after we got the bid, it came in at $12,000. I knew that just was not in our budget. So again, I had to get creative. I bought an LED fireplace off of Amazon for 300 bucks, mounted it on the wall, and then we just simply framed up a faux chimney, covered it in the same shiplap, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now for the surround, I wanted something to kind of look like antique brick, but didn't have antique brick or the capability of installing it. So we had pieces of barnwood beams that we had installed in our kitchen ceiling that we had left. They were about this long, and I just didn't have the heart to throw them away. I knew I could repurpose them. So we simply sliced 1-inch pieces of wood, made wood bricks, installed it onto a plywood backer board, grouted the joints, painted it white, and if you did not know the difference, you would think that it was white vintage antique brick. It's just stunning. I love it. It's definitely a focal point in our home, and honestly, it's probably my favorite feature in the entire house. We had to have barn doors, of course, so we took hollow core Luan doors and trimmed them with 1x4s, and then I painted them black to give them a custom look, and they turned out fabulous. We also saved money on our kitchen cabinets. We bought the boxed cabinets from Lowe's. They were unfinished. I painted them black, and we even made our own butcher block countertops using shelving. So we got really creative there. But they turned out great, and we were able to save a lot of money by doing those things ourselves. Another way I was able to give a customized look was with our windows. We purchased black windows from Lowe's, and then instead of painting the windowsills white to match the walls, I painted them black, and that really makes them pop. So we saved a ton of money by doing a lot of the work ourselves and being frugal with our shopping, going to big box stores and the thrift stores, but yet still adding a lot of customized touches here and there. In the end, I had kept meticulous records. I wrote down every single receipt, every dime that we had spent. We got our CO, and the grand total was $99,640. So we did it. We did it ourselves, and we stayed under budget, so it's possible for you to do that. I get asked all the time, is there anything that I would change or do differently? And I would have to say the only thing that I would probably change at this point would be add a split unit air conditioning instead of a single unit. We do have a 5-ton, and it does a fantastic job of keeping it heated and cooled with no problem. But when we don't have guests upstairs, it would be nice to be able to shut that off and not have to run the unit up there. But other than that, we love it, and Barndominium life is a great life.